Hey folks, today we're going to go through our first worksheet on the mole, atomic mass, and formula mass. There's a lot here. There are a bunch of questions. Let's see, how many? 20-something, 24 questions. So jump to where you need to in the podcast if you have specific things that you need to look at. Okay? All right. Describe and relate the size of a mole to an everyday object. Well, we talked about sheets of paper, and if we put them one on top of another, that it would go up past the solar system, and we talked about money. If you gave away $1 million a day to everybody on Earth, it would take 3,000 years to give it all away. Right? And my personal favorite were the tabs from soda cans that would cover the Earth, including the water. It would cover it 3/4 of a mile deep. Okay, so those were all examples of just kind of saying how big the number is. All right. So what is that number? Well, that number is 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd things, and that is Avogadro's number. That's how many marbles are in a mole of marbles, how many mosquitoes are in a mole of mosquitoes. It's just a mole of anything is 6.02 times 10 to the 23rd things. So now what you're going to need is you're going to need your periodic table. So if you haven't done it already, take out your periodic table so that we can look at this. All right. When you look up zinc on the periodic table, it tells you that its atomic mass is 65.39, and our units for atomic mass are always atomic mass units. So make sure you write down atomic mass units. Right. When I look at methylene chloride, I have carbon, I have hydrogen, and I have chlorine. And I have one carbon, which is 12.011, and I have two hydrogens, which is 1.0079, and I have chlorine, which is 35.453. Try that again. 35.453. And there are two of them. So if you multiply all these out and you add them up, I'm not going to waste your time, but I will tell you that the total is 84.933. And again, our units are atomic mass units, because these are simply just a bunch of atoms stuck together. All right. So nitrogen's an element. I look it up on the periodic table, and it weighs 14.007 atomic mass units. But when we find nitrogen on Earth, it's N2. So I have to take the 14.007, I have to multiply by 2, and I come up with 28.014 atomic mass units. Okay. Titanium. Titanium is also on the periodic table. Titanium is Ti. And if I look up Ti, I will find that it is 47.88 atomic mass units. How about ammonia? Ammonia is NH3. So nitrogen is 14.007. And hydrogen is 1.0079. But there are three of them. So I have to multiply that out, add them together, and I get 17.031 atomic mass units. Iron. Iron is a very common metal. I look it up on the periodic table, and iron is Fe. And when I look up Fe, I find out it is 55.847 atomic mass units. Sodium hypochlorite. Now the first thing with sodium hypochlorite is I have to figure out what it is. So let's remember that chlorate is ClO3. So chlorite would be ClO2. So hypochlorite would be ClO. So that means, and these all have a -1 charge. So that means sodium hypochlorite is NaClO. And so I have to look up the mass of each one of these. So sodium is 22.990, and chlorine is 35.453, and oxygen is 15.999. If I add them all together, I get 74.442 atomic mass units. Number 13. When we go and we look for neon, neon is number 10 on the periodic table, and its mass is 20.180 atomic mass units. It's over on the right. It's a noble gas. Right. Sodium chloride, well, you all should know what sodium chloride is. That's NaCl. Sodium is 22.990, and chlorine is 35.453. When I add them together, I get a total of 58.443 atomic mass units. How about uranium? The uranium is number 92. If I look all the way down at the bottom, I'll find it, and it's 238.03, and that is always in atomic mass units. How about nitric acid? Nitric acid is hydrogen with nitrate after it, and nitrate is NO3, and it has a -1 charge, so that means I need one hydrogen. So hydrogen is 1.0079, and nitrogen is 14.007, and oxygen is 15.999, but there are 3 of them, so I have to multiply by 3. When I add up all my totals, I get 63.012 atomic mass units. Alright, silver is commonly used in jewelry. So what's the atomic mass of silver? So we look that up on our periodic table. Silver is Ag, remember? So that's 107.87877. 107.87, and that's atomic mass units. What about 18? Carbon tetrachloride. Carbon tet is CCl4. Tetrachloride means 4, tetra. And so what's the mass? Well, 12.011 for carbon, 35.453 for chlorine. I multiply it by 4. I add those numbers up. I get 153.82, and that is atomic mass units. 19. What's the atomic mass of aluminum? Well, I just look up aluminum. That's pretty simple. He's number 13 on the periodic table, and he weighs 26.982, and that is atomic mass units. Number 20, sodium hydroxide. That's NaOH. One of each of them. So sodium is 22.990, oxygen is 15.999, hydrogen is 1.0079. Since there's one of each, I don't have any multiplication to do. Add the whole thing up, I get 39.997, and that is atomic mass units. 21. Plutonium. There is a lot of discussion about plutonium in the paper. Plutonium is Pu, and its atomic mass is 244. You'll notice that it's in parentheses on our periodic table. That simply means that there's one isotope out there that they make. How about number 22? Number 22 is calcium oxide, which is calcium oxide. Ca takes on a +2 charge. Oxygen takes on a -2, so they cancel each other out. Remember that? So we have calcium, which is 40.08, and we have oxygen, which is 15.999. We add them together, and we get 56.08, and that is atomic mass units. Alright folks, almost done. We've got a couple more. We've got magnesium. We look at magnesium on the periodic table, and that is 24.305. Remember, magnesium is Mg. There's also an Mn, which is number 25, which is manganese, so be careful you get the right one. Right. And our last one is sulfuric acid. That would be hydrogen with sulfate. Sulfate is SO4, which takes on a -2 charge, so that means I need 2 hydrogens. So sulfuric acid is H2SO4. Hydrogen is 1.0079. Sulfur is 32.066, and oxygen is 15.999. You multiply the oxygen by 4, you multiply the hydrogen by 2, you add them all up, and you get 98.078, and that's atomic mass units. And that is the last one we have to do. So have a great day. I'll see you in class.